Welcome back, Sleepers of the Sands, to another Solari-packed weekend of deep desert resource and blueprint gathering, brought to you today by the great Shai-Hulud and the vast cyclical power of the mighty Coriolis Storm. And boy, do we have a scorching hot map ready for us to explore. But first, I want to send my gratitude out to all of you supporters out there making this weekly video possible. You are the true stars here, and I couldn't do this without all of your likes, subscribes, and shares each week. And one more thing before we reach that map, on December 18th, the development team is dropping their highly anticipated update detailing what's coming next for our favorite Dune game, and you know I can't let you experience that alone. Mark your calendars, I will be live right here to host a simultaneous viewing of the entire developer update. We are going to break down every reveal, every tease, every glorious piece of information as it happens. Don't miss it, hit that notification bell, and I'll see you on the 18th for the future of Dune. And as you can see, we have a lot of real estate out there to be setting up bases along the demarcation zone out in the deep desert. However, you will see this is a little bit deceptive as there are a lot of POIs that are on these different islands that are going to be able to make it a little bit more difficult for us to be setting up. But we will inch through and try to find every square inch of the possibilities for the best locations for us to be setting up in. First off, taking a look at all of the resources, we can see that they have kind of put the resources together so that we don't have to fly to the other side of the map to get both dystravinium and titanium. It's worth noting as well, we have the erythrite crystals right here in E9, and there's another erythrite crystal down here in B3. So if you're the type of guy who likes to make your cobalt paste deep in the desert, these are going to be your two locations to go with. However, as you can see, there is a clear leaning to titanium to the west and stravinium to the east. The rest of them are kind of deep and might actually, as we see the map progressing, be better to be aiming for than the ones that are close up. However, if you are on a server which is not so dangerous, it might be worth taking a look at trying to get a buggy or whatnot, and even hitting these island chains to get out to these locations and then bring them back home, because you can literally make it out there and back without that worm getting you on your buggy. Just depends on your server. If someone blows you up out of the sky, I apologize, but I'm going to make the disclaimer now. I'm going to tell you, you should know your server. If you are going to get bombed out of the sky or lasgunned in your buggy because you know that your server still has a very active PvP population, please do not be driving your buggy out there, or be very careful when you do so. However, at least this week, you have the option to where you are not going to have to fly back and forth with your carrier ornithopter and your buggy to get these different resources, because they are actually attached to the island chains down in the E and D zones. So if you have a chance, take no time to get out there and be gathering these things as much as you possibly can. And for you medium spice filled harvesters out there who don't like running the risk of getting your carrier shot at or lasgunned out in the deep desert going for the big spice fields, you can see that this week we have a very strong leaning to the east side of the map. This is where the majority of these spice fields are going to be popping. Well, at least this is where they are expected to be popping. So keep your eyes open for that, especially whenever it comes down to picking your location later on. The west side also has 5 little medium spice fields that are going to be popping, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of small spice fields all around as well, so you don't have to worry about missing out if you get out here late into the deep desert and have to set up on the west side. However, if you are not planning on running deep this week for the big spice fields, you're going to want to be thinking primarily east side of the map, central to east side at least. And moving on to those big, large spice fields, we have 5 of them this week. It is possible that one more could pop up, but it tends to go 5, 6. But the last 2 weeks there have been 6, so there could be another one that we have missed out here in the deep desert this week so far. But keeping this in mind, we are going to start noticing that not only is it very close that we can get out to these various materials such as stravinium and titanium, as well as the large spice fields, but they are starting to clump them together this week. week, which kind of raises a couple of red flags for me, because once you start clumping things together, you start noticing it becoming easier for the PvE goblins to find you and start destroying your stuff, because everything is out there all put together. And as people are running through the week, flying to these different POIs, they will start noticing if you are on the Stravinium, Titanium, or out in the large spice fields. So it might actually be safer for you to be hitting up the deeper spots this week. But once again, this is all determined by how safe your day-to-day deep desert server is, and if it is not so dangerous, hey, jump out there and start getting everything all at once. Which brings us also to the cave systems, and this is what I'm trying to stress the most out of here. As you can see, once again, everything is starting to get clumped up this week. So yeah, for sure, we not only have a large spice field, a titanium field, as well as a large cave, all clumped up together. Now, there are two other large caves on the map, one in H7 and one more at the top of E7. I'm going to guess that these three are all going to be PvP, so jump out there if you're looking for that pincushion set, because you have one more option, more than you usually do. Of course, there are two PvE caves out here, two in E6, one in the bottom of C7. So you can also be jumping out there if you want to jump into the larger loot pools that you get a lot of garbage out of. Keeping this in mind, though, you have to consider the fact that stuff is once again getting clumped up, and this isn't even the end of that story. Because once again, as we start looking at the entire map and the POIs as well as resources that are gatherable, minus the medium spice fields, which we already have pointed out are here in the east side of the map primarily, you can see that there is a lot of congestion for people to be worried about. Because as you can see here, we not only have a large spice field, we also have a large Stravinium as well as a lab, not to mention the large cave system right close to it. These four things all lumped up together are going to create chaos if you are on an unsafe server. The same thing rolls right about here. As you can see, there is three different things popped up together, as we have the large cave, we have the titanium, as well as the large spice field, all clumped up together. So they have brought a lot of resources and POIs close to the border force this week, but they have put them all clumped up together. So it is a little bit scary, but I'm sure if you have been playing enough on your servers, you know if it's dangerous or safe or not. Now, keeping that in mind, we have three labs on the map this week, deep desert PvP wise, one in H6, one at the top of G3, and of course that F8 that is clumped up there with the Stravinium and the large spice field. There's also two PvEs, one down in D7, one in D3. As for the large shipwrecks, we stretch pretty much close together, the F6, F5, and we have one sitting up at the very bottom corner of I1 for us to be jumping into. So this could actually lead into a nice little lumped up flyby server for you to be setting up some kind of path. Now, maintaining all the POIs and resources, which we've already taken a look at earlier on, I would like to start pointing out some pretty interesting places which I think will be the best locations for us to be trying to jump out there and beat other people too, so that we don't have to worry about getting our hands on resources. Obviously, as we've talked about, is a Titanium West, it is a Stravinium East up close with those two large spice fields. Primarily, I believe when it comes down to the overall of what you should be aiming for to get your hands on, I think the best bang for your buck is going to be found over here in E2 and E1. These little island chains could probably be set up in. I would say the number one best place, however, is going to be in this E3 island chain, because this is stretching all the way up into that large titanium as well as the large spice field and the cave. So you can actually be running at least two things all at the same time. But the E2 is pretty much blocked more or less by this Landsrad movement. So E3, E1, and then the west side of E2 all have small little islands that you could possibly be setting up in. And I do believe this is going to be your hotspot for the best location overall. Of course, there's always those people who are looking to optimize, and that would be in the small islands here on E5 and in E6. E4 does have this little small baby that is just stuck there in the bottom east corner. That should not be blocked by the Landsrad shield, so you could be setting up there with E4. You got 3 options here, E5, and it looks like you're going to have 3 options in E6. You could probably fit 2 bases on E6, and this is going to get you access to everything left and right. Now, going into the Stravinium side of the map, E8 is just filled with clusters of different little islands. So once again, if you are trying to boogie on up and get yourself some Stravinium in your buggy without having to fly it around, E8 is going to be a hotspot for you going around this week. Now, for the best possible scenario, if you have extra people inside of your guild, I would definitely say that you should set up 2 bases this week. I would put 1 large base right over here on this side, and I would throw another large base over on this side as well, with the east and the west covered. That way you can constantly be grabbing Stravinium and Titanium and filtering it into maybe a central location. Maybe your refinery could be set up here somewhere around the D5 area, and you could just be funneling stuff down into it. So quite possibly making, say, 2 bases that are big enough to hold your carrier and crawler as well as a buggy somewhere in the east and the west, and then funnel all of those materials back central, and then you can just deposit them going into the center of the stage. If you are a solo player, then I understand you should just be picking one side, and it's quite possibly the best thing for you to do is just set up dead center D5, D4 area. Keeping this in mind, if you have not made your way down to the A row yet, I know this is a repeated thing on all of my channels. However, jump out into the deep desert. Please run those A row labs so that you can get all of the resources for free. Not only that, but you're also picking up 180 free intel points. That goes a very long way when it comes down to research, as well as unlocking all those blueprints that you will need to be able to craft in order to win your Landsrad every single week. And now, just in case you don't know exactly what you should be looting from these POIs, starting with the down ships, you have the highest rated chance to get some of the best weapons in the game, like the Perforator, the Pulse Knife and Sword, the Shellbuster, and the Regis Disruptor Pistol, which all come in handy in all situations, as they are all hard-hitting weapons and can definitely change the tide of war. Next, we take a look into the PvP caves, which is the best place to get your pin cushion set. If you're into light armor, the entire 5-piece set can be dropped from the PvP loot caves at a 7% chance. Add on top of that Regis triple shot repeating rifle, which is probably one of the most coveted weapons in the game. And circuit gauntlets as well as X-Core leggings don't really hurt the way to go out there and start digging into these caves either. So make sure that you're jumping out into the caves each week and getting your hands on that stuff as well. Moving down the line of seriousness, we have the large shipwrecks, which are my favorite place to go for my weapons because they usually respawn quite often and you're not randomly searching for the smaller ships. This also has the Perforator, the Pulse Knife, and the Pulse Sword, as well as a Shellbuster and that Disruptor Pistol. The problem is they are dropping at a 7% chance, but the loot pool seems to be rather small. I tend to get my hands on the same thing over and over again, but either way, that Way of the Miser is something that you can collect. It's not a bad handgun either, but I would definitely recommend, if you are going for new weapons, all these large crash ships are great to be jumping into. Next, we have the PvE testing stations, which have quite a bit of stuff to be looting, but the loot pool is rather massive in my opinion, and it is giving you a chance to get that young Sparky MK6 as well as the replica Pulse Knife and the Holtzman Shield, with the chance at the power harness as well. However, the loot table is so massive that it's almost next to impossible to be getting these things unless you're running these PvE labs on repeat. So keep that in mind. They are out there. If you do have a group of people that you can run around with, jump out there and do them regardless. But please keep in mind that your chances of getting those top S tier blueprints from this place are a little bit less than anything else, which doesn't make sense to me because they are actually rather difficult to run. Next, we have that PvP testing station area, which are probably the hardest things to get into and loot stuff from due to the amount of massive waves that you have to fight against. So going about it solo will be hard, but if you have a lot of friends or a group of people on your server that you like to run around with, it's not such a difficult task. Here you will find more of the defensive side of the game, as not only will you be able to get the young Sparky MK6, which is the best battery you can find in the game, but you also get that adaptive Holtzman shield, which will keep you safe a lot longer. Add on top of that the power harness, which is probably the best heavy chest piece that you can get into the game, and Hallex picks and the carterizer are not bad stuff either. And if you are lucky, you can also get your hands on a black market K28 las gun, which will help you eat through ships and people's bases a whole heck of a lot faster. And now, my favorite time of the video is to give those shout outs to all of you supporters out there, leaving comments below and telling me all the information that we need to know to keep this video progressing in that YouTube algorithm. First, we start off with Burge Bedrosian. Thank you very much. Bed Bedrosian did notice that last week's thumbnail was from Dune Spice Wars. I just thought it was a very neat looking slide, so I put it in there, and hey, it worked. Next up, we have Centurion Audio. Thank you so much. I love to make videos for you guys out there and keep you informed on all the information in Dune. So when I hear somebody thinks my channel's the best channel for Dune Awakening, it warms my heart. Thank you very much, Centurion. Next, we have Kuldushant, who says, keep up the good work, bud. You are the true Fremen of the desert. No, my friend, we are the true Fremen of the desert. Fremen is plural, I guess. So, am I a Fremen? I don't know, but this is good for us to know. Thank you so much for the comment, and keep it rolling, my boy, out in the sand. Keep that spice flowing in. Next up, we have Lance Westwalker. Yes, I love doing this, Lance. There's nothing I love doing more than making these videos every week. Also, I want to give a big gratitude out to you for linking this video to your friends and your guildies. You are making this channel work, and by spreading that knowledge, it's making everybody here in Dune Awakening get a better knowledge of everything that's out there, Arrakis. And next up, we have Reenup. I want to say, honestly, Reenup, I'm more excited about this than you, because when you leave those comments down below, it really warms my heart and keeps that algorithm pushing this content out into the Dune world so that more people can see what is going on in that deep desert map every single week. Second to last, we have Traumatic In. What a name! Once again, yes, I can say that you taking time leaving these type of messages every week, Traumatic, is making my day much easier. I wake up every morning waiting and hoping to read these messages, and when I see that you have left a comment, there's nothing that makes me more excited and happier to get out of bed in the morning. Thanks again for all the support, and may the sands bless you, my friend. And finally, we had Yegosh point out that there were no easy runs on the ships last week. That's right, they were all walkways. There are only 3 ships this week as well, so I'm getting a little bit nervous that they're all going to be walkways again. This seems to be a trend that's going down. Don't worry, Yegosh, I will report back on what type of ships are out there as soon as I can fly out and check them for myself. However, if they are all walkways again, remember, there is a guide that you can get to that I've created that makes it easy to jump out there and get through those ships in no time at all to get those blueprints and get yourself rich inside of Dune Awakening. Thank you all for taking time to watch the video. As always, remember, on the 18th, we do have a live stream for those devs update. So come and join us and get part of the family as we are discussing everything that is happening in the future of Dune Awakening. And I hope to see you guys all there. Keep your eyes in the skies and have a great day.